Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Monday, April 4th, 2022 council meeting to order with the Kitty Hawk Town Hall at 6 o'clock p.m. Thank you all for joining us. We have a large turnout here tonight and those watching at home. If you would, those of you who are able to stand, please join us for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Council, I assume you had a chance to look over the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Jeff approved. Lynn McLean second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 4, Commissioner Steve Heiss. I think you're up, sir.
Thank you. Being an elected official myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for serving. I know sometimes it's a thankless job and trying at times, and I totally understand your commitment, your drives, and thank you very much for serving.
Thank you.
I want to come to you today. I'm Steve House. This is Richard Paul. We're both co-directors of the Outer Banks Jeep Invasion, which will be held October 7th through the 9th of this year. Last year's Jeep Invasion was a huge success. These types of events normally take a year to plan. Our Jeep Invasion staff put last year's event together in 3.5 months. Last year, the Outer Banks Jeep Invasion brought over 450 Jeeps to the Outer Banks. This also brought with it economic benefits to the community in lodging, meals, and other activities enjoyed by the participants, several of which was the first time here on the Outer Banks. And they were able to see what Dare County had to offer for future vacation opportunities. The Outer Banks Jeep Invasion raised a net of $38,000 for numerous toys donated to the Dare County Toy Run. The Jeep Invasion at the Tourist Bureau event site in Nags Head had over 38 vendors in total. Some of our nonprofit vendors, such as SPCA, had 4 animals adopted at the event. Currituck and Dare County Food Pantry received over 400 pounds of food each during the event. Also on board were food vendors and an array of Jeep merchandise vendors. For the Outer Banks Jeep Invasion this year, we'll be raising funds for the Dare County Special Olympics. And a secondary charity, the Wounded Warriors in Action, the event that annually brings Purple Heart veterans to the Outer Banks for a week of hunting, fishing, and also a chance for these veterans to have fellowship with others that have made similar sacrifices to our nation and also to their personal lives. This year's event has already taken off with a vast majority of our past vendors already on it, with major national vendors signing on as well. On a side note, national vendors do not even consider such an event until 3 to 4 years of history of the event participation. With projections of over 600 Jeeps to register for the event, with over 1,000 people to participate in the Outer Banks Jeep Invasion, we are excited and want to give these people a full experience of the Outer Banks. The Outer Banks Jeep Invasion already have events scheduled in Nags Head, Kilroy Hills, and Hatteras Island, and we would like to include Kitty Hawk. Other Jeep events offer trail rides, as this is one of the top items listed by our last year's participants and what they would like to see going forward. All coastal Jeep events, like the ones held in Ocean City, Maryland, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Daytona, Florida, just to name a few, offer beach rides in a limited number of Jeeps. We would like to propose to the town of Kitty Hawk a beach ride and limited to 100 Jeeps, escorted by Ocean Rescue on October 8th at 7:30 a.m. Entering the beach at Bird Street and exiting at the Kitty Hawk Bathhouse. All vehicles on the beach will drive close to the water line, as so the next tide will wash away the tire tracks. Each Jeep would ride single file, as prescribed by the National Tread Lightly Program, to limit the footprint in the sand. The Outer Banks Jeep Invasion is projecting a full participation in this endeavor. The registration fees for the Jeep would be $40. And of that registration fee, $35 per Jeep will be donated to the Kitty Hawk Ocean Rescue by the Outer Banks Jeep Invasion 501c3. This is a potential $3,500 to Ocean Rescue to use as needed. We hope that you would approve this event, and we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Commissioner. I don't have any questions. I think it's a great idea, especially that time of the year. We have checked with Chief Johnson, Kitty Hawk Police Department. He too has no objections. I would ask that you don't tear up our beach, so how about that?
Most definitely.
Council, any comments?
The only comment I would like to, just so everybody knows that it is allowed under Section 6-23, vehicles on the beach, to allow drivers who are participating in town-approved civic, government, or charitable events. I just want that on the record, please.
Very good. I think we don't need a motion. Council's in approval of this. Thank you, Commissioner, very much.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank
And on
you.
a side note, I want to publicly announce something that hasn't been publicly announced too much yet as of today. The public-private partnership of the Miss Katie Dredge Project. Miss Katie is in the water today.
Right.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have an added item, council item number 5. Mr. Doug Brindley, Outer Banks Association of Realtors, if you'd like to come up, please. I asked him earlier to keep his talk to an hour and a half, and he said he would.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Doug Brindley. I'm president of Outer Banks Association of Realtors. The association now has over 1,200 members in residential and commercial sales, property management, as well as lenders, insurers, appraisers, inspectors, and many other affiliate members. With me today is our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force Chairman, Jimmy Anderson. The board recently approved several initiatives set forth by the DEI Task Force on fair housing, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that's why we're here today. We would like to present all of you with a copy of the National Association of Realtors biannual magazine, On Common Ground. I think you all got a copy up there. This latest issue focuses on addressing the housing shortage, something that we've all felt very dearly here in the Outer Banks. We'd also like you to make made aware that April 11 is the 54th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act. Outer Banks Association of Realtors is committed to ensuring that all prospective home buyers, sellers, and tenants are treated fairly and equally without discrimination. To bring further attention to fair housing, we ask you to join us in proclaiming April as Fair Housing Month. I have a proclamation here for your consideration. Whereas the Fair Housing Act enacted on April 11, 1968, enshrined into federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, religious status, national origin, and disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And whereas the town of Kitty Hawk is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all. And whereas our social fabric, the economy, health, environment are strengthened in diverse and inclusive communities. And whereas more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists and many communities remain segregated. And whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council does hereby declare the month of April 2022 as Fair Housing Month in the town of Kitty Hawk as an inclusive community committed to fair housing and to promoting appropriate activities by private and public entities to provide and advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of the town of Kitty Hawk. And thank you for the opportunity to bring this before you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brindley. If council, we don't need a motion on this either, but if council approves, I concur with the proclamation request. Lynn, can you work on that, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, public comment. Lynn, has anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes. Susan Merrill. That was really good, by the way. The red democracy. Thank you. First of all, Council, thank you for your sponsorship. My name is Susan Merrill. I'm here representing the League of Women Voters of Dare County, presenting the 2022 Citizens Guide, your guide to community services. Complimentary copies of the guide, published by the League since 1988, are distributed annually to government and business offices throughout Dare County. It contains contact information for local, state, and national governmental agencies, voting information, emergency numbers, and a great deal more. Our guide is published under the auspices of the State League of Women Voters Citizen Education Fund. On the back cover, you'll find acknowledgement of the municipalities, including yours, and local businesses that donated generously toward publication expenses. Thank you, and thanks to all staff members who helped update information for this year's guide. League members are now distributing 6,600 copies of the guide from Duck to Hatteras Village, Roanoke Island, and mainland Dare. You'll find them in libraries, post offices, the Baum and Fessenden centers, as well as town and county offices. League Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Publishing this guide is part of our continued commitment to provide pertinent information to voters. Membership in the League is open to anyone of voting age, male or female. Students 16 and older may join for free, and new members are always welcome. Thank you for your support. We know you'll find our guide very useful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. I, for one, always look forward to getting a new citizen guide. So, thank you, Susan. Lynn, is anyone else signed up for public comment?
No one else has signed up for comment.
Is there anyone wishes to speak at public comment period tonight about any topic, any subject?
Even if we haven't gotten to the item yet?
Correct. You can still speak on the public comment, correct. We have a public hearing later, but if you'd like to speak at public comment, you can speak now.
There's the public hearing.
Okay. Okay. So no one else in public comment? Very good. Thank you. Council, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. There were no items removed from the consent agenda. Item 8A, special use permit, Moore Shore Road. You get a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Rob.
The special use permit application tonight is for a commercial crabbing operation at 3839 Moore Shore Road. Commercial crabbing and fishing operations are permitted in the VR1 district as a special use per section 42-273C5. The conditions that go along with the special use is that A, seafood shall not be sold, processed, or distributed on the premises. The cleaning of fish or other seafood for commercial purposes is prohibited. Any exterior or outside lighting used in the commercial crabbing and fishing operation shall be low profile, shielded and directed towards the operations and to the extent practical away from adjoining neighbors. D, the maximum number of crab shedding boxes permitted on the premises shall be 36, and the shedding boxes shall not exceed a size of 4 feet by 8 feet. While engaging in the special use authorized by the subsection, no radio, musical, loudspeaker, or other such sound shall be audible beyond the property line of the landowner engaging in the authorized special use. No more than 4 people shall be involved in or conducting the authorized special use on the property at any one time. Only boats owned and operated by the landowner or his family may be loaded and unloaded at the property site, and not more than 4 boats shall be docked at the property or loaded and unloaded as authorized by the section. The equipment and machinery used for commercial crabbing or fishing purposes as authorized herein shall be screened as the town council in its discretion may require in order to minimize the commercial impact upon adjoining residential property owners. Storage of crab pots and crab shedding boxes shall be screened from adjacent residential properties, and a camera permit shall be obtained if applicable. As I noted, the subject property is located in the VR1 district. It's about 4.7 acres in size and houses an existing single-family residence. The abutting properties to the north is zoned VR1 and VC1, both containing single-family residences. The abutting property to the south is zoned VR1, also contains single-family residence. And to the east, across the water, there are 4 lots zoned BR1 with 1 vacant lot and 3 single-family residences. The applicant has proposed a total of 36 shedding boxes, each measuring that 4 feet by 8 feet, which is consistent with the conditions listed in the ordinance. There's no information provided regarding proposed lighting, but any that may be installed must be consistent with C5C. Additionally, no information was provided regarding the location of the crab pots and boxes, but as a condition of approval, the applicant is acknowledging that they must be screened from adjacent residential properties, and the other specific conditions would be the type of kind of ongoing compliance and must be adhered to. Any violation of those conditions would be deemed a violation of the zoning ordinance and subject to enforcement action at that point in time. That's with regards to the number of people, the 4 people working the site, music not going across property lines, what have you. The land use plan designates this property as a lower density residential area on the future land use map. And per the standards of 42-100B8, in order to approve this application, town council must make the findings that the proposed special use does not materially endanger the public health or safety. There's no evidence to suggest that allowing the proposed use would endanger public health or safety. It does meet all required conditions and specifications. As noted in the staff report, the number and sizes of the shedding boxes meets the required conditions. The additional conditions are subject to continued compliance, and if council decides to, you could require additional screening of the shedding boxes from any adjacent properties. Will not substantially injure the value of the adjoining property or be a public nuisance. Based on the limited commercial application and the fact that we have these other similar operations in town, haven't had any evidence that it would substantially injure the value of adjoining property or be a public nuisance. And D, will be in harmony with the area in which it's located and be in general conformity with the comprehensive plan. The proposed use appears to be in harmony with the area in which it's located and is in general conformity with the comprehensive plan, as long as these conditions of approval are adhered to. You can see up on the screen, I've got the property highlighted. According to the applicant, this area outlined in blue is where he's proposing to locate the crab shedding boxes. Also, kind of put together the surrounding zoning district as well, so you can kind of get the visual there. The applicant, I believe, is here, if you have any questions for him specifically. And that's really all I've got. At the March 17th Planning Board meeting, they unanimously recommended approval of the special use permit request.
Council, do you have any questions for Rob on this matter? I know you've been to the location. Did you find that it met all the specifications and requirements?
Yeah, the requirements listed in the ordinance, they don't have a whole lot that really deal with the site conditions itself. Like there's no minimum lot size for it or anything like that. I think where the applicant is proposing it, it kind of, get that one pulled back up, shields it away as much as possible. the biggest impact would be on this adjacent owner to the south. The CAMA permit has been applied for and issued, and as part of that, the adjacent properties to the south and north were notified by the owner, and both supported or supplied the responses, didn't have any objections to that one, including the one to the south. Now that is different from the adjacent property owner notifications from what we do. When we scheduled the public hearing, we sent the notice to any property both across the street and across the water that kind of touches that property line. The CAMA permit, I believe it required notice to be sent to the property to the north there and the property touching it to the south. CAMA doesn't require them to go across the street for their notices.
Very good. Any questions for Rob at this point? Okay. Is the applicant here? And if there's anyone else here that would like to speak on this matter, if you'd be sworn, please. Ms. Lynn will take care of it.
This is Barbara Brown. Hi.
Hey, Ms. Brown.
I don't like speaking in public, it makes me a wreck. I missed the March 17th meeting, I was out of town, I apologize. I have a question. Is it the law or restrictions or whatever the word is, that there be a navigable waterway to this business?
Rob, can you answer that question? Ms. Bryan?
So the way it's worded, it says, except for the subdivision known as Kitty Hawk Landing subdivision and that portion of the Kitty Hawk Bay Soundfront running from Hay Point to the point of intersection of the BR1 Beach Residential District with the VR1 Low Density Village Residential District in the vicinity of the Penny Toller Ditch. Commercial crabbing and fishing operations conducted by landowners as well as their family members or employees as permitted herein, who own land fronting on and adjoining the navigable canals and waterways in the town shall be conditionally authorized to conduct commercial crabbing and fishing operations on their property fronting and adjoining said navigable canals and waterways.
It is not a navigable canal.
And we're not.
Does anybody know that? It is not a navigable canal.
It still falls under a CAMA jurisdiction, though. If they deem it navigable, that,
They did.
I mean, I'm saying if they do, then that's the way it
So we're
is.
still waiting on camera.
No, I'm saying that my understanding is just like on Bay Drive, you know, the Sportsman ditch is considered navigable. Where off of Sportsman Road. That's
Jeff, you're the expert here. Go.
I mean, I can get a kayak in there. What is navigable? What is navigable? I don't know the definition clearly. No, are you going to get a 30-foot boat in there? No. Nor are you in my canal or probably 50% or 70% of people doing this
So any good attorney can
business.
make it a navigable canal.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I personally don't know the definition of
Okay.
navigable, but you can navigate a watercraft of a small size through there.
And the only reason I say that, because I went through that a few years ago.
It doesn't take neighbors too long to get annoyed at things like this. And I think if y'all put yourself in these shoes, you can understand that. It's a small road. It's not even a 2-lane road. It doesn't even have a center lane. It's very busy. It joins the multi-use path. In the summertime, it amazes me that nobody's been hit on that road. Does anybody else feel the same? It amazes me. We have strollers, dogs, children, cyclists, and speed cyclists that I scream at, by the way. And it amazes me that nobody's hit on this road. And I know it's a short operation. It's usually May, but welcome May. You're here. And that really concerns me. I don't know when the marathons are run. I don't think there's one in May. Sunday's church traffic. The drivers are horrible on the road. And if you look there, I know it's not our property. It's still the state road. But you can see holes because people don't know how to drive it. They drive off, there's potholes all on the sides. Not only the mail ladies, but everybody else's that gets in there. So we have concerns with traffic, trucks, whatever kind of transportation is going to be in and out of there. I know 4 people, 4 trucks. That's a lot of coming and going. Let me see if I have anything else here. Maybe I'll get somebody else here.
It is a narrow road, I agree with you.
It is an incredibly narrow road.
Yeah.
And I have a big old 1994 Chevy Dodge camper van, and she holds on tight for her mirrors when anybody goes by her on that road. I believe it reduces the value of the property, and I've had 2 brokers tell me that. 2 real estate brokers with active licenses. 2. If you want their names, I'll be happy to have them sign up. I'm concerned about security. It's going to bring different people. It's a quiet area, y'all. It's a residential area. We leave each other alone unless something happens, and that's when we all come out to take care of each other. I like it like that. When we put the new monument in, we had some craziness going on. People wanted 8 parking spots put in there, and they wanted a neon sign. We went, no, this is a quiet residential area, residential. Once a commercial, anything is put in there, we're done. It's a precedent that frightens me to death back there. Thank you for listening to me. I can't believe I spoke.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else signed up to speak? I know the applicant is here. Yes, sir.
Shows the location. So my name is Michael Gravatt. I live at 3840 Moore Shore Road. I had a few questions for Rob, correct? Yes. So my question is, they're proposing 36 sheds on this, correct? Yeah. So what's the square foot of the shed, and what's the square foot of that? And then is this going to be, the reason I'm asking this question is if you get approval for this one spot, is it going to spread around along that waterway, the whole way along that property line?
It would not spread. The maximum size by the ordinance is 4 foot by 8
But
foot.
they can't come back and get approved later on.
No,
Or
you're limited
than what that is.
You're limited to 36 total.
And that's it. Okay.
That's it.
And then also what they were saying about the roads, I mean, with the additional traffic that's going to come in as part of this business, you're going to have more tearing up that road, and you're going to have to deal with the state, and, I know that's the state's problem, not really y'all's, but that's going to be an issue, because I live on that road too, right across the street from this, and, just a regular pickup truck are pulling off the road to do all that. And then also with the lights, I was reading that in the marine fisheries, there's a requirement for the lighting. Are they going to be held to that requirement?
The town will hold them to the requirement in the ordinance. Anything.
Would the ordinance meet the marine fishery requirements by North Carolina DEQ?
I would have to familiarize myself with those ordinances, or with those requirements, but that would not be on us to enforce. That would be on
That's their-
fisheries.
Okay. All right, I can look more into that. But yeah, I live right across the street from it. I know it's not our property. They can do what they want to do on it, but I just don't think it's for that neighborhood, the amount of marathons y'all have. They go down that road, the amount of, the way you want your town to look type thing, for a lot of amount of time people that attend those marathons as well. And also, I agree with Barbara, I don't see how that couldn't drop your property value in that area as well. And then also, I was going to wonder, you talked about screening, what's going to be the requirement for a buffer zone or screening zone in that area? How many feet are we talking on the road frontage?
Well,
I work for Fred Smith Company, so that's why
I think along the road frontage, it looks like it's still going to be,
Nothing's gonna be cut, everything like y'all see now, there's nothing that's gonna change.
Nothing's
What's your
gonna,
drop gonna be going in that?
All we're gonna do is go in that same road we always go in, everything going in now. Nothing's changed.
Hang on.
all right, hold on.
It's a valuable question.
Hold on, guys.
Because there's no,
To bring this meeting to order, you can comply with what you're supposed to be doing up there, okay?
Okay.
I've asked you to calm down. All right, go ahead, what you got to say?
okay. My other question is, like they were saying, with the drives, I mean, there's been no information provided to anybody about a permitted plat or anything like that that's out there on what, if they're gonna put a driveway in or anything like that is gonna be provided, or, are they gonna have a round through it, or how is that gonna be addressed? Because that affects all your screening and everything that you're doing that he's saying is required.
All right, any questions? And that is a state road, as you stated, but it is a concern of Kitty Hawk too, because it's in our time, so
Yeah.
we have a concern about that road also. Anything else? All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else signed up to speak?
I'd like to address that road before we get done.
Sure.
Is now the time we want to.
Anyone signed up to speak?
Yes.
Okay, come on up, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm not as educated as some of them are here.
You're fine, ma'am.
My question is, and I'm learning,
You state your name, please, ma'am.
Madonna Van Kuren.
Okay, thank you.
And I've been on that road 35 years. I love that road. That's a historical road.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why I purchased that house and kept that house. I have the big blue house down there. I'm not against anyone furthering business, but not on our road. I'm the only one on that road that has a cement driveway. Need I tell you guys, I have holes all by my mailbox and everything because everyone with the trucks come and turn around my driveway. I am familiar with the crabbing business. My first husband was a crabber. I know what goes on. There's no way boats are going to get underneath our little bridge. And what about the millions of dollars or whatever it costs this town to put in all of those piers and those bulkheads and everything down around our curve to keep the road from flooding, because we flood so bad when the sound and the water's being pushed in from the west side. My biggest question, being a businesswoman in this town, is I go to a lot of meetings and I obey the law, but we haven't passed this yet. They already have shedders on their land. The trucks, I live across the street, 2 doors. The trucks have been coming up and down the road back there for about a week and a half or 2 weeks. I don't know. I go to work every day. Y'all haven't even approved this yet. They're already clearing the land. The shedders are already there. Guys, did y'all already make a vote before we even came to give our opinions on the roads? I don't know how you can do this. I know I'm taught not to vote on anything or go behind anybody's back until we have a hearing. It's already there. Who would spend money on, now, you know it costs money, who would spend money clearing and putting shedders there before you guys make up your mind?
Okay,
That's the thing I don't understand.
To answer that question, it has been before the planning board. This is the first time this council has seen this matter.
But why would a
can't answer
business
that question for you, ma'am.
owner spend money before it was passed?
It's the first time that we've seen it.
I accept that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I've been before your meetings before,
Yeah.
and I have great respect for Kitty Hawk. I live here.
Thank you, ma'am.
I could live anywhere being a realtor. I live in Kitty Hawk. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am, very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much.
Very much. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, would the applicant come up, please?
This is the applicant.
Okay. State your name, address, please, sir.
Demon Hines, 3817 Elijah Bond.
Thank you.
Guys, we're not trying to change anything back there besides putting these shedders up. And this being I know it's being as a commercial business, it's not. These shedders are going to be 36 shedders that my brother and my dad are going to work. They got 2 vehicles. It's 2 guys, my dad and my brother, that are going to be doing it. They'll be in there maybe 4 times a day coming in and out of there to get the crabs. I drive down that road a lot more now just because of what's happened down there. My son is going to go over and check it out a little bit with him just to see the operation. But it's something that's going to last 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, Jeff knows this. I mean, you know, he does the same stuff my brother does. And it's something that's been in this community for a long time. You got my uncle back there, that's 89 years old. We've been in this community a long time. We're not trying to bring, I don't want that property value to go down at all. We didn't even want it to go up. This is something for my family to be able to make a living. Plus, I'm buying it from a restaurant, so getting local, you're about as local as you can get from buying from my brother that's going out to Salem, picking this stuff up and getting it. We're not changing anything as far as, I'm not going to put a big fence up or tear trees down or tear stuff up. None of that's going to happen. What you seen me going back there, where I see y'all over there talking to each other, that's where it's going to be happening. Right there, you're not going to see the shed. Mark next door, I mean, I've talked to him about it. There's nothing to see. The crabs are going to be brought in. There's no boat that's going to be back there. We're not going to be bringing big boats back there to try. You can't get under that bridge. Y'all know me. Y'all know how long my family's been here. We're not trying to pull voodoo somebody. I mean, it's all it is about getting out there, doing something for those guys to make a living, and me buying it. I mean, something small, something simple. It's taking up an eighth of an acre maybe, if that. They're not going to be playing loud music. They're not going to be doing something like that. I mean, Dad's 70-some years old. My brothers will come in and drop the stuff off. It's not anything that's going to happen. It's going to try to. But I'm telling you, as much stuff as I got going on with property, I don't want that property value to go down. Nor do I want y'all's to go down. But it was right across the canal from where y'all were at last year. So. But anyway, is there any questions about as far as how the operation is just going to be when the season gets here? You come and go with these. AC, how many times you got? Three times maybe back and forth?
I'll bring the crabs once a day.
So we'll be there, and my dad will be there picking it up. It's not a huge operation.
One truck in and out about 4 times a day.
And I think we've all read, none of that is visible from Morris Shore Road.
None of it's visible.
Okay. I couldn't see it.
You can see nothing unless you're trespassing. You can't see nothing.
Well, the reason we wanted to keep it like that is because of the way it's been that way for 50 years. I mean, when I was a kid growing up back there, it was like that. Heck, the house they live in, my grandfather built that house. So, it's just something that I didn't think would bring this much to it. I'm not trying to upset anybody or think I'm trying to do something that's going to mess their property back, because it's damn sure not going to do that. You know? But this is something my family's been doing for, you know, my dad did it when he was a kid. I do it for fun. It's just not my thing to do for a living, but I'll invest in it or whatever, but it's not something that I like to do it, to go out there and have a good time with it and do what my family's done for years and years and years, you know, so. But it's a simple operation. It's not, there won't ever be 4 people there unless it's family there, unless I go up there with my son and, you know, something like that. But as far as workers, it's really going to be my dad that's going to be checking the shutters, putting them up, my brother bringing the crabs there. So it's not a huge operation at all.
All right, any questions from Mr. Hines? Anybody? All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you
very much.
Can I ask another question?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
Should I come up?
Yes, ma'am, please, so we can have it recorded here.
And I'm not a mean person. I mean, I'm a real outgoing person. And I want you guys to prosper, and I completely understand business. But if you live on Elijah Baum Road is not Morris Shore Road. Morris Shore Road is a historical road. We need to keep it as a historical road. We have all the runners that come through there all the time.
His house that he built.
I live in Mr. Hines' house. Mr. Hines was the original builder.
Okay, folks, okay, folks.
But I'm just saying, if you live on Elijah Bond Road, that's off to the side. Why can't you have more shutters down here?
You don't, you're listening on your neighbors, you don't want it, but you want your neighbors to have it.
It's a
Elijah Bond is off.
That's where they come from.
Okay, folks, we have got to have order in this public hearing, or I'm going to shut it down
I
altogether.
understand. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any more questions? Okay, can I have a motion to go out of public?
We got one.
You got another speaker?
Coming.
Okay.
Well, one's already spoken, to speak again.
The shedder's already there.
Not set up. All they did is, he owns the property, they had to have them all in other piece. They just moved them. They're just sitting on the truck. They are not there now. They knew that.
Yes, sir. Good evening. State your name, please, sir.
Shelby Hines.
Mr. Hines?
I've been here for working on 90 years. And back in the 40s and the 50s, there was over 100 people in this village that made their living on the water. And today, we got four people, really. And I grew up on Moore Shore Road. My daddy owned all that property in front of it. I had a little house there. I raised a couple kids and I moved out. But these crab shedders, there's no noise to them. Crabs don't make noise. And they're way back. You cannot see it from the road at all. And the traffic going in there will, you know, like 3 or 4 times a day for an hour is it. And I can't see how anybody would object to this poor boy trying to make a living. We all made a living doing something. And luckily I weren't on the water because I was afraid I'd drown. But I just don't understand. And there's no way that a child can go over there and get drowned in this operation because the water's only 4 inches deep. And that's about, and I love soft crabs. And so do most of you.
We all do.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Shelley.
Mr. Hines. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else wish to speak? This public hearing. It's your last chance. Come on up. Hey, state your name, please, ma'am.
Sydney Sheldon Quant.
Okay.
Okay, I'm really nervous. I don't like to speak in public.
Go ahead.
But, so we live on Moore Shore. My husband and I bought a house on Moore Shore. And I think the main thing that scared everyone was the term commercial. I guess we just don't really understand. And when you hear commercialized, you think, oh my gosh, like McDonald's, you know, just like craziness. And I think that's kind of what scared a lot of us, you know, because we just bought this property. We don't want anything to affect it. You guys know the market value is insane right now. We love that piece of property, as do everybody else that lives there, and that's why I think we're very passionate about what's going on. I do respect you guys trying to make a living, and I did really love to hear the fact that it's just like a family-owned operation. I'm just worried that in the future, it would turn into something more so like, because it was successful or whatnot, you know what I mean? Totally off subject, but I would love to get a speed bump in on North Shore. I think that would be like amazing to have, just because like the traffic is insane as it is. It is hard. It's not like a 2-lane road. It's definitely a 1-lane road. Sometimes I can even back out of my own driveway. You know, that kind of is crazy. But I don't think we're upset. I think we're just like confused and just have a lot of questions, especially with the term commercialized. And just, that's really it.
Yeah, I promise you I'll look into the speed bump, okay?
Yes, please. Thank you.
And if this was to answer another question, if this was to go into anything else in the future, this would have to come before this council again. And if it doesn't meet the requirements, we're not going to go along with it.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Okay.
And I also want to add, I walk that road every day, twice a day, so I understand the speeding situation.
Yeah, I watched a woman fly down going 45, and you know, our dogs go out and they run, and there's kids, and there's so much on that road, and it like, I was gonna post on OBX Local, but I knew that wouldn't give me nothing but a headache, so speed bump would be great. Thank you.
Andy, can we look into that? We'll talk about that. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Come on up, ma'am.
I'm Barbara Brown again.
Okay.
Like everyone, we're not against anybody making a living, and I have to tell you, and I may be wrong, but I personally don't think 36 boxes is making a living. Anything commercial, Sydney's right, it scares us. That word scares us, and I'd like for the town council to really keep in mind what kind of precedent are you setting with your decision. A precedent that could have a ripple effect that may never stop. We don't know where it stops. It may even end up with DOT widening our road. We don't know where it will stop. Nobody does. I appreciate Mr. Hines earlier saying how he cares about us, but he's not a resident on North Shore Road again. And we are all neighbors, and we care about each other. And if he was a neighbor, he would have come and checked with us as an old neighbor of North Shore Road. And I would have appreciated that, but that's it. And keep in mind, please, a precedent you are setting here.
Thank you, Ms. Bryan. See anyone else signed up to speak?
Stephen Hines Jr.
Come on up, Mr. Hines.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
So Mark Brown brought up the traffic that comes up and down North Shore Road. I just want to reiterate. So that's my bad, that's not all, that's okay. And that, my great aunt Ted, and she owned property when she was alive, she passed away. So now my grandma, doesn't live on the street anymore, nobody lives in the house on the property, where we can't live anymore. And Barbara, you would know, because you know great aunt Ted, no one's cutting down anything back there, but trimming. They're trimming branches off of
Don't say anybody back there.
yeah, you do.
Here we go.
You talk about traffic, and I want to bring traffic up because you got people that are building, I believe they're building two, I want to call them tiny houses.
Pardon me, why are you addressing me?
I'm addressing the point, not addressing.
Mr. Hines, you should be addressing council and answering any questions, clearing up anything they had.
So we're talking about, like we said, like, my uncle's going to go down there and deliver crabs once a day, and you're talking about 2 trucks, right? And I want to bring up the part of the traffic is because I believe that she has an Airbnb, and that's a year-round kind of business that would be bringing traffic up and down that road.
It has nothing to do with the subject we're on.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just bringing up the traffic.
Okay.
I just don't see how the traffic is really a point that should have been brought up, because there's not.
Okay. All right, I can see right now you can have a seat, Mr. Hines. Thank you. Council, can I have a motion? Rob, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to note one thing. I know council's aware, myself dealing with it day to day, but many folks don't deal with zoning issues on their day-to-day basis. But as far as any kind of precedent or commercial uses expanding, that area back there is zoned VR1, the Low Density Village Residential. I got pulled up here. The permitted uses by right is detached single-family dwellings, accessory buildings, and town-owned lease facilities. That's what can be built just coming in here, getting a building permit. We also have a list of the special uses that are permitted, and that's churches and cemeteries, private schools, home occupations, golf courses, commercial fishing and crabbing operations, non-commercial boat docks and boat basins, bed and breakfast, commercial kayak guided tours, community swimming pools, community docks, family child care, fire stations. Those are all things that we would look at on a case-by-case basis. Somebody would submit an application, as Mr. Hines did. It would go to the planning board for a site-specific application. Planning board make a recommendation, and a public hearing would be scheduled. As of today, those are the only uses that are permitted by right or by special use permit. The special use permits are all, like I said, done on a case-by-case basis, reviewed by council. The only way that anything additional would ever happen would be if council, changed the zoning, which I wouldn't envision happening, or had a text amendment allowing different commercial uses. This is kind of what the ordinance limits us to. And I know we all deal with it. I know none of the public here tonight does not deal with it day to day, so they might benefit from hearing.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question?
One more.
Just one more, short and simple.
One more,
May I
short
ask,
and simple.
Is that when you're quoting, do I have to have front?
Yes, ma'am.
I like this meeting, I'm coming more. When you're quoting the rules, is it by subdivisions, like we're not in Kitty Hawk Landing, or where is it? Moore Shore Road does not have any subdivision, no subdivision name at all.
Let me pull it up real quick.
It's the zoning.
So it's by zoning district. That area in Moore Shore Road is zoned as the VR1 district.
So it doesn't go by subdivisions?
No, you can see on the map here, VR1 is kind of all this area and all that area.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who's come up to speak tonight. I really mean that, okay? Thank you to everyone. Council, can I get a motion to leave public hearing and go back into regular session, please?
So moved.
I need a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I'd like to hear some comments. First of all, Ms. Van Kuren, I agree with you. Moore Shore is a historical road. Those two gentlemen whose pictures are hanging on the back of the wall back there came down Moore Shore Road. Crabbing industry also has a long history in the town of Kitty Hawk. So we need to keep that in mind too. Any more comments?
Yeah, I have some. Don't forget Elijah Baum, the store was there where all the supplies and the plane was actually brought in on a railway there. So let's don't forget that part. Elijah Baum does have some history also. A lot of Kitty Hawk does. I'm going to bring up the road next. I've been going down that road 61 years with my dad. I can't remember all of it. 62, sorry. Traffic has increased, I agree. A lot more houses on that road. There's a few things that have increased that traffic tremendously, and it's certainly not going to be a crab operation with 4 people. There are several businesses on that road that's being used as a cut through. I would suggest, as we talk about your problems, I'd like to address that. And maybe you could contact where all this traffic is really coming from, which is out at the beginning of the road. There's several businesses that operate. If you go there at 8 o'clock in the morning, you'll see what I'm talking about. Maybe it could be, I have a facility like that on the road that I live on, and we have had the police request and send out to the businesses to please have their people slow down on that road. And I would suggest that taking that route. I don't think you're going to get a speed bump, but maybe talking to the couple of businesses that are creating the majority of the traffic on that road as a cut through getting to that facility would help out. being a commercial fisherman myself, I'm going to chime in. I'm one of the 4 that Shelby talked about. We don't make much noise. We have usually just a few pickups. We try to work so that we don't use the lights because they do use a lot of electricity. We try to pick our crabs up in the afternoons as soon as the sun goes down, primarily about right now. We pick them up for the evening. We do go back out usually about 10 or 11 o'clock for about an hour and pick up what remains. And then we go back to bed and we're back up at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock or sometimes earlier, but usually we're only up and at these shedder operations for just a few hours at the time. The majority of our time is spent out on the water. And as far as traffic, I don't see an impact at all. No more than just a normal residents coming and going to get gas and normal needs. That's all I got to say.
Charlotte, while we're down at this end, any comments?
I hope we have addressed the environmental concerns that you had about using that waterway that won't be used. And there were several other things that I hope have become more clear with this operation.
Thank you, Charlotte. Lynn?
This afternoon, I happened to come up Beacon and down North Shore Road to get to my house on Kitty Hawk Road. It's one of my favorite little drives. I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm a slowpoke coming through there. I've had some people annoyed at me because I slow them down. I want to look around. I want to enjoy the people that live on the road. Today I had an occasion to see a couple with an out-of-state plate on their car pull over and jump out of the car, and the guy went over and stood with his arm around the monument, the right monument, and the gal took his picture. And I thought to myself, you know, you ought to just take a minute. It's not 5 o'clock yet. Why don't you go tell them that the original monument's up at Town Hall and send them up there? And then I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Kitty Hawk has a lot of history. It has a lot of tradition. Another one of the traditions of Kitty Hawk is the way people supported themselves when the village was first populated. They worked the water. Kitty Hawk likes the tradition. It's in our land use plan. It's in the town statement. We are a town that respects the tradition. And I think anyone who has the desire to have a crab shedding operation, more power to them. And if they were my neighbor, I would consider that a valuable asset. I'd offer to go over and check their crabs for them, and maybe they'd give me a couple. So I can see that that would be an asset in the neighborhood. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Lynn. Dave?
Well, it's always tough when you go last because everybody's already kind of said everything. But, you know, down to 4 people making a living on the water is actually kind of sad if you really look at the history of Kitty Hawk. And it's hard work. And, you know, I admire Jeff and the Hans and everybody else. They go out and work hard every day. Their fishing gear is not cheap. It's expensive. I mean, it's hard work. Jeff, there's probably sometimes you don't go to bed.
There you go.
And so I would never want to lose that value in this town. And I understand property values, trust me. I'm in the business. And I actually walk off of Moore Shore Road and Beacon every day. I'm one of the biggest complainers about speeding, but I'll be honest, a lot of it's the residents. And so anyway, that's kind of all I have to say about it.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, Council, anything else? Okay, I would like to, anyone like to entertain a motion in this matter?
Mr. Mayor, I move to grant approval of a special use permit to allow commercial crabbing operation at 3839 Moore Shore Road, Town council finds the proposed use consistent with the town accepted, adopted CAM land use plans, finds this to be in the public interest, and finds that the special use does not materially endanger public health or safety, does meet all required conditions and specifications, will not substantially injure the value of adjoining property or be a public nuisance, and will be in harmony with the area in which it is located.
Thank you, Jeff. Can we get a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion has passed. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night. I'll look into it, I promise.
Yep.
Y'all did a good job.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for coming out and seeing us.
One thing that wasn't mentioned, but crabbing is only 3 weeks to 4 weeks out of a year. And a crabbing man and crabbing makes his money.
Thank you, Mr. Hines.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Hines.
Thank you.
Okay, council, item 9A, some unfinished business, back to the zoning text amendment. We don't need to go back in public hearing, we've already done that, correct?
Yeah.
Council, we've seen this before. I want a decision on this thing tonight, one way or the other. Let's get this straightened out tonight.
So for the staff report, I basically provided the same information that you had last month. I did in this draft strike through the subsection D with the driveways, just so, since that was what we were discussing last month, I wanted it to be clear on here. So really, that was the part that was kind of new, so I wanted to go into that a little bit. So as I noted at the March 7th council meeting, after the most recent planning board review and recommendation, I was approached by a citizen inquiring about constructing a detached garage with living space above the unfinished garage. The citizen inquired about a separate driveway to access the garage to make it easier to back their boat into. As it's currently written, separate driveway would not be permitted, as the second level living space would classify the structure as an accessory dwelling unit. However, with regards to the proposed amendment lifting the restriction to the rear and side yards, I thought the same argument could be made to lift the restriction on not allowing a separate driveway. That being that with the somebody right now could take a detached garage, and I kind of put it in these examples here. On the left here, and neither of these are in Kitty Hawk, it's just random ones I found online. On the left here, this structure, if it was built as a detached garage and the upper level was just unfinished attic space, it could be built anywhere on your lot as long as lot coverage and setbacks are met, and could have a separate driveway going to it. You can take that exact same structure from the outside and finish the upper room to have a little bedroom or an office, and the way it's currently written, the structure would have to be in the backyard and no driveway could access it. Again, on the other side, on the right there, this one is just a standalone accessory dwelling unit, no garage or other storage capability. Again, as the ordinance is currently written, this would be, with conditioned living spaces, restricted to the rear and side yard and cannot have a separate driveway. Now, if somebody wanted to build something that looked exactly like that and just keep it unfinished and use it as a shed, it'd be a fancy looking shed, but they could have it in their front yard and they could have a driveway going up to it. The only difference is whether there's living space in it.
I have a question. In the one on the left, the gray one, if somebody built that just as a garage and with storage upstairs for Christmas ornaments or whatever, and got their driveway to back their boat in, would the ordinance as it is prohibit them from finishing that and having that a living space?
Yes.
As it is, yes.
Yes, as it's currently written, it would. As it's shown in the staff report, it would get rid of that. It would allow them to make that conversion. But as it's currently written, they could not convert that storage into living space.
But you could take that same structure, we'll use the one on the left, and put that in the front right now. As long, like you said, as long as that's not conditioned, it's fine.
Yep.
But you cannot do that currently if that's conditioned.
Right.
But it's the same aesthetic structure.
Yes.
But it's going to be occupied with people instead of furniture, more cars, and it's going to be occupied. It's not going to be an accessory. Right now, where I'm working, right beside where I'm working, there's identical, that right there. And it has a paved driveway going right to it. There's nobody living, they're using it just like that, okay? But if we make our rule tonight, I got a funny feeling they're gonna close that thing in and it's gonna be an Airbnb too. And now they're gonna be accessing that from a whole nother road from where their house is, correct? So I kinda think the intent, I know it's the same building, but the intent is to keep it from being an Airbnb or something like, you know, a lot of people don't mind a little shed in their yard, but they don't want people living in their front yard. I think was the intent. That's just me, you know. I get it. I mean, everybody gets it. It's the same building. You can wait for everybody to leave and most likely close that thing in and do whatever you want. I get all that. I mean, the thing is when this was set up, it was trying to discourage people from doing that, is what I think. So that every neighborhood, especially the VR ones and the BC and the BR ones, that land use plan specifically states is low density. So, I mean, adding a rental income on a single family lot and still saying I'm keeping it low density is not. Now, if this was in a different zone or if we had different setbacks or restrictions, but allowing this in a VR1 or a BR1 in front of somebody's house, I just don't think that was the intent of this. Other zones, probably I don't have a problem with it, but I just do in this one.
Did you have some more explaining to do there? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but.
No, you're fine. I'll just hit on that.
Great.
That back in, I think it was 2018, when the accessory dwelling unit language was first approved, the language was submitted by the applicant, and I think she had looked at a couple other localities, and the reasons for the different restrictions and everything was to try to make it clear that the accessory, the secondary structure was subordinate to the primary residence. So you weren't looking at, you know, two primary residences on any given lot or anything like that. And I think the yard location was probably one of the ways that some of the other localities have addressed it. The only other thing I've got, this is another something I just put in your packet, just another example. So in this two site plan examples, the one shown at the top is an existing single-family residence as well as proposed structure, proposed second driveway. Again, regardless of the appearance, as long as there's no conditioned space, that would be allowed. If there's any conditioned space present, then that building has to be moved back and the driveway has to be eliminated. I will note, and I get the concerns with the Airbnbs and having additional residential uses, but the definition that we passed in November, where it essentially makes any conditioned living space in an accessory structure is now an accessory dwelling unit. So, you know, if somebody wants to do a detached garage and have a little home office above it, no intention of a bedroom, no bathroom, nothing like that, it still meets the definition of accessory dwelling unit now and has to meet those yard requirements and driveway requirements and square footage and all the other ones. I just wanted to add that in as well, but that's really all I had to present, and I'll just answer any other questions I can.
Thank you, Rod. I know this has been a situation that's caused a lot of discussions and caused a lot of conversation between council, and I think that's great. I like that. That's good.
We'll just add to that with the suggested motions, just to, if there's any questions about that, I put together a couple of different ones. One, to just eliminate the yard requirement like we had initially talked about. The second one would eliminate both the yard requirement and the driveway requirement. And then the third one's just to deny it all outright.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Charlotte, any discussion?
Well, yes, I do have some discussion. Kitty Hawk separates itself and is very important to me. I've lived here and worked here for 47 years. And when we're different because Kill Devil Hills has 7,500 square feet that they require for a building lot. Ours is 15,000 square feet. They did that so that we wouldn't be on top of each other. You had a yard that your children and grandchildren could go out and play in. You had some green space. You could have some landscaping. And you could put a pool in if you wanted to. There is just no way that they ever envisioned Airbnbs being peppered through neighborhoods. It just feels so wrong to me, and the collateral damage of the neighborhoods is what I'm worried about. And I just don't agree with it.
And to that, I'll just add that I don't think Kitty Hawk is unique in struggling with how to deal with accessory dwelling units and the Airbnb stuff. I think, when they first started gaining popularity, people were using them more for what we, I think, initially kind of approved the language for, like, mother-in-law suite, you had some family coming, and then just within the past couple of years, the whole Airbnb has just exploded, and we don't have anything regulating short-term rentals, so if somebody wants to do it, then they can build it.
Once you give their occupancy permit, you don't go back in that house, right? Somebody would have to report it, like a neighbor would have to say, hey, these people have people staying there every night.
Yeah, we don't go back in unless there's another building permit pulled or if there's a complaint for a violation, but if they build, an accessory dwelling unit and they have people staying there every night, we don't have anything against that, so there wouldn't be any violation to follow up on.
Well.
So just to clarify, Rob, the accessory dwelling that we're talking about is one of the votes is that to allow accessory dwellings in the front. On the front of a house. We are currently allowed in the rear.
Right.
Okay. And your second one has to do with the driveways?
Yeah. The second one will allow it in the front and allow a second driveway.
Okay.
Or if council comes up with another motion.
Well, currently we allow Airbnbs in the rear of the house.
Accessories.
They've already approved that. That was this is the. Okay.
Well, Kill Devil Hills doesn't have this problem because they hardly have room to put a house on it. So they don't have this situation. We have more space, and so just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Thanks, Charlotte. Jeff, anything else?
No.
Okay. Lynn?
No, I just wish I had been here last month so we could have buttoned it up and gotten it off of our plates.
Okay, David?
The thing about it for me is we can discuss Airbnbs and property uses and property rights, and maybe they should have never been approved in the first place. Jeff, I respect you because you never were for it from the beginning. And I respect that. We've talked about it. But the council before me did allow this to happen. And now we have it. So my issue today, and has been since our last vote, is the fact that we can debate all night long about whether we shouldn't, Airbnb, in-law suite, but we've cut folks out of being able to do it in their front yard. It's fine to do it here, but it's not fine to do it there. That's my heartburn in what we're talking about. The Airbnbs and what people are doing, I personally think it's going to kind of work itself out over time. You know, we're working on this kind of stuff on a county level right now, but we have it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't know that I'm for or against it originally, but I wasn't here to vote on it originally. And now we do have it, and I want it to be fair for everybody to have the opportunity to have one in their yard.
I do want to say something.
So that's where I'm at with this. This discussion tonight is not about whether we should have them at all. I don't know how I would have voted on it originally had I been sitting up here.
Yeah.
But now we do have it. And it's got to be fair for everybody. And I'm a little confused by the motions, I'm not going to lie. I'm not sure if the driveway, I'm not saying I disagree with that, but I don't want it to prohibit this, what we're about to put to rest one way or the other. So I understand what you try to do with the different motions. For me right now, I'm not even concerned about the driveway. I mean, personally, I just want it to be fair for all the residents. And that's kind of all I have on my mind.
Lynn, you had something?
I do want to say something. On the driveway issue, it's the owner of the property, if there isn't a separate driveway, they're going to be creating more hard surface on their property. Allowing the driveway to go to the nearest road instead of having to connect to another driveway only makes sense. It keeps the amount of hard surface down. People have more than one driveway cut now, all throughout Kitty Hawk. Some people want a circular driveway. They're pretty nice. I mean, there's no jockeying cars back and forth to let someone come in or out. But yet they also have another driveway that goes straight to their garage. The circular driveway is for the front door, and the garage is accessed from the side of the house. And there's no Airbnb involved, no second residence or anything else. That's just the way they're using their property. And I really think prohibiting someone from making another access to the road is a little more regulated than we want. It's a different story if you're coming out on a state road, because that's up to DOT, isn't it? Rob, isn't that up to DOT whether you get a driveway cut on a state road?
They have to approve that, yes.
But on Kitty Hawk roads, most of them are not major traffic roads. And as far as everyone's very afraid of the term Airbnb, it's not a bad word. I know a handful and a half of people who have a piece of property, part of their home, a separate structure, and I'm talking about people not in Kitty Hawk. They market their Airbnb and attract people who you would want in your home. They don't rent them out to undesirable people who are going to trash their property. And if it happens, it's the authorities are called and they're escorted off the property very quickly. So Airbnb is not a bad word. It gives people an opportunity to travel and stay in an environment of a home rather than an environment of a hotel or a motel or a rental unit. I think everybody's afraid of the term Airbnb. And why not allow people to make a little extra money for the space that they have to pay taxes on? Because a lot of folks definitely can use the extra income, and maybe they'll use it to improve their property, and the town will benefit from the upgrade. Random thoughts, that's just things I think about when I'm looking at these things.
All right, thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Lynn. I can see both sides in this matter. Like David said earlier, we do have this current situation in our town, good or bad, we've got it. So we've got some motions before us. Make sure everybody's clear. The first motion is without the driveway, correct?
Correct. It would just remove the restriction.
Second motion is with the driveway. Third motion is to deny it altogether.
Right.
Everybody clear? Everybody good?
The first motion is to put that the building can be in the front.
All of them are, yeah. Yeah. And
First one allows the building in the front. The second one, motion is going to allow the building and then address the driveway.
We'd have to,
So the second one only includes the driveway. If you're for both, you want to vote for the second option. The first option is just to allow the Airbnbs.
You're correct. The first one would remove the requirement for the driveway to be, or only one driveway and for the location.
Correct.
The second one, you forget about the driveway part, and it's just removing the location. So that would be just removing 42-528C, J, and amending subsection G. That's the building height part. That's the second motion. That's ignoring the driveway issue altogether.
And make sure council, Andy and Rob both pointed out, we do currently have this in Kitty Hawk for the backyard and the side yard, but not the front yard.
Correct.
Correct? All right, everybody good on that? Okay.
I have a question, and this may be an attorney question.
I was hoping to get out of that.
I don't want, and I'm not saying this council's confused in any way. I mean, we can all agree to disagree, and that's fine. We all go home, no big deal. But I don't want this driveway interfering with what we're trying to do. Is there a way to just separate the driveway altogether? I guess the motion, I'm confused.
If you want to do that, just separate the driveway discussion altogether, use the second motion.
And I'm not saying I'm against the driveway. I mean, just come back to it. I don't know.
And the only reason I brought that up last month is because I was approached after the planning board meeting and the public hearing had already been scheduled. I didn't want to tell the resident, apply for a text amendment on this when we haven't even gotten to this public hearing yet. So, be a couple more months dealing with accessory dwelling units. So, but yeah, if you prefer to just forget about that part, the driveway restriction altogether, and let that person come back for a text amendment, then use that second motion as proposed, and we'll act like the driveway discussion never happened.
Just like the pictures you got in front of us, the second one is without the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, we still allow 2 curb cuts regardless.
Right, but we wouldn't allow
to a structure
to access the accessory dwelling unit.
But they're going to drive through the yard to it anyway.
They're going to end up creating more hard surface, just a bigger driveway.
They are capped at 30%. So there's only so much more hard surface they can do.
You can still fall inside the 30% threshold.
Yeah.
Was there in Village Commercial?
Apparently, there's somebody on Tateway that believes this is going to pass pretty easily and already has their garage door framed in. That goes right out to Tateway, so.
Well, Tateway's a unique street because it already looks like it's in the front anyway.
It does. That's the thing down here. You can't, it's so hard to know which is the front and the back. I think of my property, I think the south side is the front. I don't think of the other side as being the front, but it's just really odd the way that whole thing's turned out. There's 3 in a row.
With those 3 specifically, there's not going to be a whole lot of circumstances like that because they have that double frontage on
Right.
Sunrise View and Tate Way, and we try to discourage the double frontage as much as we can.
And again, I'm gonna go back to Jeff. I respect Jeff's views on this. He stayed true to his views the whole time. I'm not saying anybody else hasn't, but like my neighborhood, that's, HOAs and things like that take care of themselves. So there is a lot of property that you're just not gonna be able to do anything. So, because the covenants are gonna prevent it. So really, we are getting back more into a village type, not a complete environment, but, Woods Road, different, the HOAs are gonna take care of themselves. I mean, we can permit something tomorrow and the HOA can still deny it. So,
Right.
so I guess it really wasn't an attorney.
And just like, an accessory building, just like you were saying, it can look just like an ADU. Exactly. And it can be rented as an Airbnb right this minute. And the only difference in there, folks, is the stove.
Well, that's what it used to be until that text amendment to the definition in November. Now, it used to be the stove that set apart just living space and accessory dwelling unit. The text amendment that went through in November just now says any conditioned living space is an accessory dwelling unit. Okay. So that's kind of how we got led back to here because it was.
So those ones that were done earlier like that are grandfathered now, correct?
Right.
Because there was a couple of, okay.
So they're non-conforming too, right? So
Right.
if something happens to them, they can't go back to currently the way it is, 50% or something.
I think the way our ordinance is written is if it's destroyed by fire or something, it can be rebuilt. If they make an improvement over a certain amount, then they have to conform to current regulations.
Very good.
Okay.
All right, council, any more discussion? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion in this matter.
So, just so I'm clear, the first one includes the first picture, the second one does not.
Correct.
The first one would remove the only one driveway restriction. The second one doesn't deal with the driveway at all. It just goes back to what we originally talked about last month.
Second motion is just like that second picture. Bottom picture, correct?
The second motion would allow the accessory dwelling unit in the front yard, but would not allow a driveway to access it.
Correct, just like that.
Right. So, well, what's the one I think throwing everybody off is it's set up side by side, showing the driveway, not in front and back. But, I'll make a motion. I mean, I hope it doesn't come back because of this, but anyway, I'm gonna move to adopt the proposed text amendment to section 42-528 as presented in the staff report to remove section 42-528 C, D, and J and amend subsection G as it relates to the maximum height. Town council has found this proposal to be consistent with the town's adopted land use plan.
Just to be clear before we vote.
You did not make the right motion.
Okay, that's why I'm
That's
super
the one
confused by this.
That's the one that takes
The
out
first motion is the
driveway.
first picture.
All right, I tell you what, I'm gonna work on what I care about. I'm going with location for the front yard. That's the second motion, right?
Yes.
Okay. May I change my motion? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mr. Attorney, he doesn't need to withdraw that motion.
No, that's all right.
Okay, good.
I move to adopt the proposed text amendments to section 42-528 as presented in the staff report to remove sections 42-528C, J, and amend subsection G as it relates to maximum height. Town council has found this proposal to be consistent with the town's adopted land use plan.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, let's get a show of hands just to be sure. All in favor? We've got 3. All opposed? 2. Okay, motion is carried 3-2. Thank you, Council. I'm glad we finally got this taken care of.
I thought the separate motions would make it less confusing.
It ended up being worse,
Maybe
didn't
if it was 9 in the morning, it'd
Which
been
one,
easier.
which one passed?
But it's just layman's terms sometimes, you know?
It passed in the front with no driveway. Correct?
And he can come back and file a text amendment, or anybody can do a text amendment for that. That's a separate thing for me right now.
Okay, Council, thank you, thank you. Any new business? No new business to come before Council? Comments from Town Manager?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We have begun some parking improvements on Luke Street and Blariot. Willie we'll show you some pictures of the progress so far real quick. I'll just pull them up. I still have them on here. As you can see, we did change these to the one-way street there from the Beach Road to Lindbergh Avenue. So we've got about 20 extra, possibly 20 to 22 extra spaces, what we feel out of each of these streets. So probably a total of additional 40 spaces is what we're able to increase our beach parking by. So I know that's been a council priority, and we'll have that probably completely completed in the next week, 2 weeks. But the parking lot, the Public Works is going in today and installed the curb stops, and so we think this is going to be a good improvement for our residents and also our visitors, and it'll be a lot safer being that the road is a one-way street, and we're maximizing what we have without adding too much asphalt. With that being said, that's really our updates on our projects. We have, just as a reminder, we have the chipping service on April 11th. Put your vegetative debris out by the streets. Make sure that the pieces are 6 feet and shorter. And there'll be somebody to come by to take your yard debris or any tree limbs that you may have on April 11th. Then we are closed, Town Hall's closed for Good Friday. And the trash collection for that day, for Good Friday, we're going to pick up on Monday and Wednesday versus that Thursday. So with that being said, that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Andy. Mr. Attorney?
I have nothing.
Thank you for being with us again, sir.
Glad to come. I was teasing.
Always good to see you. Always good to see you. I'll start reports from council. Andy just showed a picture of the roads. If you've not ridden out, they look great. They look wonderful. Andy and I rode out to check them out this morning and actually caught Willie working, which was a good thing. But Willie, they look great. It's gonna be so nice. I know you've got a little more to do to it. It's gonna be great. When I left, I drove down Woods Road and they were cutting the trees down that were hanging over the road. Great job. Great job getting on this stuff. Thanks to all staff. And thanks to council too for some good discussion tonight. That's all I got. Dave?
Well, a little spent right this minute, but I actually must have missed you guys this morning because I went out there and saw Willie too and checked on the parking lots. And
you mean he was working 2 different times?
We caught him working twice, but they do look good. I'm excited for the residents and the vacationers to have defined parking. Well, I'm sure we'll get complaints about something else now because of it, but I think Willie's told me this morning you got a couple extra that you didn't think you were going to get in there. So that's good. I do think something that when I was standing there today looking at it, you know, I'm big into safety, always have been. Jeff, you and I have really talked in depth about that crosswalk right there at the Black Pelican. We've both been in some situations there. I do think we need to look at now that automatically triggers a crosswalk, in my opinion, when you got 40 cars parking there. From a safety standpoint.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree, Dave.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
Thank you, Dave.
Great point.
So, in fact, I'd go so far as to say both parking lots, but one of them has about half the cars. Is that right, Willie?
Yes.
So if we can only do one at a time, then I think the bigger parking lot, in my opinion, should be done first.
Correct.
I agree.
Willie, can we look at that or get an estimate or something? Or?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And he had mentioned some, I mean, I appreciate what you mentioned earlier today, like, I don't want to speak for you, but what was it about not having it lit all the time? Or there was something you were talking about, how people, it becomes, you don't see it anymore.
It's blinking all the time, people just get kind of blind to it. So with the push button, it catches people off guard, they're already coming up the road when it comes on, so then they should see it.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Quicker.
I agree.
So that's all for me tonight.
Thank you, David. Lynn?
I also saw Willie at work today. I rode by this afternoon, not intentionally to look at Willie. I just was going up down the beach road and turned my head and went, oh, they're working on it. Boy, that looks good. So thank you, Willie. And for those who are looking at speed bumps on Moore Shore Road, that's a DOT road, and they may not have speed bump in their vocabulary.
I don't think so either, but we can look into it for them.
But we have been asking them to do things with Moore Shore Road as long as I could spell DOT around here.
We can certainly ask.
And we get very little in response other than the road's still there.
I would like to say one more thing, because I do walk that path and that road twice a day with my labs. I mean, it is a real speeding problem. I've discussed it with Joel and Jimmy a couple times. I mean, I've seen people about straight running to the sound because they're on their phone texting, flying down there. I mean, it's definitely a problem. That, I mean,
and it's narrow.
Yeah, and maybe because I'm there a couple times a day, I see it more. But I don't disagree that I'm surprised somebody hadn't gotten hurt with the way they speed, and it's different times. I mean, it's no set time.
It's different times, but a lot of the same people.
Absolutely right.
And there are some folks that I have watched them cut that corner and go down that road and
on two wheels.
Yeah. I mean, and they'll do that because they think they can make that faster than going straight down Kitty Hawk Road and out to the bypass. I can fly through Moore Shore Road and up over Beacon.
Yeah. And Jeff's correct. I mean, a lot of it is business people up front, and I don't understand and personally see the big deal of cutting through there to get to Kitty Hawk Road. I mean, it's just as easy to go to stoplight to me, but I mean, what do I know?
I like to go that way because it's the scenic route.
Right, I understand that too, but
it's quiet.
But you know, they're cooking through there on a daily basis.
Very good, Jeff.
Yeah, I also want to thank Willie. Willie, I went by there Sunday and you weren't working, but anyway. I do appreciate you. I appreciate you, what you've done. That's a good deal. I'd also, we do the consent agenda, and I always like to bring this forward. Mayor Garris had a proclamation honoring an Eagle Scout, Michael Pearson. And I'd just like to recognize him tonight for accomplishing a great achievement of becoming an Eagle Scout.
Great job. Thank you, Jeff. Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Charlotte?
We had a Zoom meeting this week with the Park Service and in reference to the museum. And it looked like it was very productive. It was a good meeting. And I think we'll have cooperation and we'll be able to work together on that.
Very good, very good. You worked.
Excellent.
You worked hard on that, Charlotte. Don't stop.
Are you coming to speak to us at the tourism board?
He mentioned that he would like for me to.
I suggested it because I felt like.
Yeah, it's and I can just show the video and answer some questions. What do you have that date?
Yes, ma'am. I'll email it to you.
Okay,
I don't
that'd
have
be
it right
great.
in front of me, but.
Okay.
But he had asked me about that, and I said I'm happy to help out any way I
Andy
can.
and I'll
but,
be glad to go, won't we?
I'll do it.
But I'm not the best one suited for the presentation.
It was a very productive meeting, and I met with Lee Nettles, and that was a wonderful conversation, very supportive. He was glad to have that information, and so anyway, it was good.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlotte. for your
Okay,
work.
council, if nothing else, I'm going to make a motion that we recess till tomorrow night, Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, Kitty Hawk Town Hall at 6 p.m. For the purpose of an informational meeting pertaining to the upcoming beach re-nourishment project.
And I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're in recess. Thank you, council.